we did the 1-day mindset reset, which actually eliminates all those beliefs, all those limiting beliefs, those thoughts and those feelings and those, anger, guilt, fear, sadness. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. We get rid of all of that in the first session.
Martians landed?
Yes.
Wearing Prada suits?
Yes.
Drinking Henry Seltzer?
Yes.
Chewing juicy fruit?
Yes, and?
Your branding here?
Yes, brand.
Your message here?
Yes, and?
A verse about?
Yes.
Your product here?
Yes.
I'm Hersh Redman.
Yes, and?
I'm a message therapist.
Yes.
And I have a podcast.
Yes, brand.
That's right, that's it.
Yes.
We'll help you fix the world.
Yes.
Or your bottom line.
All right.
Your bottom line.
Get it. I get it. Welcome to the Yes Brand Podcast.
Who's in the hot seat today on Yes Brand? It is Curtis McCullom. Curtis helps CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs get rid of those blind spots that have silently held them back since childhood. This helps them unlock greater income, confidence, personal freedom. He's got something he calls the LGET Mindset framework: learn, grow, expand, transform, and powerful modalities like NLP, mental emotional release, MER, and hypnotherapy. And he facilitates and assists the client in reprogramming their subconscious blocks for deep and lasting transformation. And as the host of the Curtis McCullom Show, he shares those insights from top leaders who talk about success, mindset, personal growth. We're going to talk about all of those things today here on Yes Brand. And hopefully, even just by listening a little bit, your next level is going to start to take shape in your mind, because it is already within you and you just have to unlock it. So, Curtis, welcome to the show.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me, Hersh. You know, we had a great pre-conversation. I know that I was really looking forward to just delving in some really deep, nice topics for your audience so that they can walk away with something. I mean, my philosophy is like yours. I believe that everyone has all the resources within themselves to become the best version of themselves. And my job sometimes, and your job, is to kind of unlock those things, or kind of reignite them, because they're already there. It's just helping you see who you already are, you know?
Yeah. And, just by saying that, you kind of brought something to mind, which is, first of all, I tell clients, before you brand yourself, you have to know yourself.
Yes.
And one of the things that prospective clients, sometimes clients that I'm even working with, but people I meet for sure, I don't even want to call it imposter syndrome. It is that they don't put themselves first, in the sense that they're trying to be modest. They're trying to not turn a whole bunch of attention on themselves. They think their mission deserves attention, right? But without the attention on their mission, without the attention on them, they can't cast attention on their mission. Have you dealt with that? With that kind of, it's almost like they don't deserve, or they're not worthy of success, in its fullest form.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest things that most entrepreneurs sometimes suffer from. And what I do, I have a special session that I have. It's called, we do values alignment, discovering alignment session, where we go into a person's deepest level programming. And what happens in this session, Hersh, is that we figure out what are those things that driving their behavior. See, because if a person tells me they don't want to be in the forefront, that means, usually it means that something happened in their childhood that now is prevent them from being in the forefront. It doesn't take away. It doesn't, like, being in the forefront does not take away from your value. Being in the forefront does not take away from your brand. Being in the forefront, basically sharing who you are, and people are looking for authenticity. And that's kind of where we kind of shine at, to figure out, okay, what is those values that's driving that behavior? Just to give you an example real quick. When I look at my values, I'm looking at them real quick right now. When you were sharing that, I'm like, my number one value is love. Now, a person look at that label, They say, well, oh, love is kind of fluffy. No, that's not my love. The definition of my label is transference of energy that connects to the heart. So when me and you are having these types of conversations, I'm connecting, and that gives me the energy that I want. The next one is helping others, and that's basically empowering people to achieve their fullest potential. And then my number 3 value is passion, and my number 4 value is making money. Now, making money for me is an exchange of energy that sustains
Right.
impactful work, growth, benevolence, and lifestyle. So when you talked about just about the person feels like they're not worthy, usually, most of the time, it's because somewhere in their values is out of alignment and is now preventing them from seeing and sensing who they truly are.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said. And the fact is, it's exactly the work that you do that many people need, because it does run deep. It isn't a superficial problem or a superficial resistance. It's not as simple as, nah, I don't want to be in the, it's
Right.
more, you know, I'm literally don't deserve that
Yeah.
attention, or it's wrong. It's
Yes.
wrong for me. And of course we can, even in conversations with friends of mine who've struggled with this, they can trace it, let's say, to a parent or something, but they can't break the block.
Yeah.
They can't break it. But that might be someone who wants to break it. What do you say when there are people who, okay, tell me how you would deal with a couple of different situations. One would be that they know there's a block and they want to break it, but they're a little scared to
Right.
explore it. The other one is you can't really even have that conversation with them.
Well, let's start with the latter. We can't really have that conversation with them. Now, one of the challenges that I'll have, and not a challenge, it's just reality, is that a person has to, number one, want to, right? They have to want to change. And this is the kicker. Because of the subconscious programming, they are getting a benefit from being who they are.
Hmm.
So think about it like this. Sometimes this is way off, guys. So don't hold me to this. Sometimes a person stays in a relationship, an abusive relationship, because of the fact that that's what they're accustomed to.
Right. Yeah.
And part of their programming is that's okay, even though they know it's not okay. But that's what the programming is. So my job is, first of all, they have to want to, but my job is now to help them reframe that behavior so that now they sit in a totally different light. So for the person who says, hey, yeah, if they have a secondary gain from being who they are, it's even more difficult to change. If a person is disabled and they're getting a check from the government, and now all of a sudden they can be healed, the thoughts are like, man, if I be healed, I'm going to lose my check. So they have a secondary
Right.
gain for staying in the state that they're in. And that's kind of where that person is.
Right. It's akin to fear of success. It's kind of like adjacent to it, but in a way, it's that this cycle of like people who will, if they look back at their work history and they see that they've made a certain amount of money, but never any more than that, you know, they've put this kind of imaginary cap on it, and they've stayed in situations or jobs or businesses that did not have that mobility, because if they had the mobility, they would be breaking the cycle or the spell, you know.
And the thing about it is they'll be out of their comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
and
so
it's
what
scary out
happens is
there.
that this is the thing about the subconscious mind. It likes to be comfortable. It's what they call homeostasis. That's why you see people always go back to what they always know. I
Yeah.
mean, I use relationships again in a situation is that that person is not good for you. You don't get along with each other, and you still stay with them because you're comfortable with that person. You're comfortable with that behavior.
Yeah.
You're comfortable on that job. You're comfortable at 80,000. So every time you get almost to 90, you start to sabotage. and bring yourself back down to a comfortable state of homeostasis. That like a thermostat. I think Zig Ziglar used to call it like a thermostat. You can't go any higher than what your thermostat would allow you to go.
Yeah.
And my job is to say, okay, here's your current thermostat. What's actually preventing you from now going past that?
Right.
And how can
Well,
we now open it up? And usually, going back to what I said before, one of the major causes is that their values. Values is the deepest level of programming that we accepted or decided something way down deep that we probably forgot about. It's like,
yeah.
you were in the store one day and you picked up a ball, and mom says, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or we're not Rockefellers. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
those little beliefs, even though it's some, offhanded little thought or whatever, that stuck with us. And so soon as we start to break that level, and that voice in our heads is that money doesn't grow on trees. Or if you were sometimes a religious person, who I grew up as a boy. My father was a pastor, and
Right.
it's like, hey, part of the beliefs of money is the root of all evil. Money is evil. Money is for evil people. So you get to this level that you're going about to break through. That programming is still running. You don't even realize that your belief system is that money is bad, and
Hmm.
so, but it does prevent us from moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And those stories are, they're there. They're deep there. Why they're there, we don't know. But doing the work is how you break through. So tell the audience, Curtis, a little bit about how you got into this field.
Well, really and truly, I started doing this kind of
Yeah.
work about 40 years ago. This when I was in sales, and even though I coach sales now, when I started in sales 40 years ago, I wanted to be a motivational speaker and I wanted to be a sales trainer. They didn't have coaches at that time.
Hmm.
And so when I started in sales, I studied under some of the greats: Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, uh,
Sure.
um, what's his name? I think of his name right now, the sales guy, but Tom Hopkins, Jim Rohn, all those guys. And one of the things that I practiced when I was in sales was self hypnosis. So I utilized self hypnosis 40 years ago when I became number one in the world. I I I came to a company. I stood up in front of my cohort. I told them my number one speech, and less than 18 months later, I was the number one in the company. But I did self hypnosis, I did self improvement, I did a lot of motivational stuff, all this stuff. So fast forward now to where I am now. About 6 years ago, I retired from financial services. I was in a position to retire, and I wanted to do something I was really passionate about. And so I came into coaching, and then I'm certified as an executive coach. Then I got certified as a clinical hypnotherapist, and I got certified in as a master practitioner in neurolinguistic programming and mental and emotional release, because all of those modalities kind of shaped who I wanted to be based on the success I had as a salesperson. So,
Yeah.
and
I
those all
love
the
that.
things that I practiced, and I knew how powerful they were in my life, and I wanted to share them with the world.
That's great. Well, you know what's interesting about sales is a lot of salespeople think it's about hypnotizing
No,
the buyer, right? You're
no,
trying to seduce the buyer, so to have this
yeah.
effect on the buyer, all of that stuff. And I had never, well, that would be wrong to say I had never been in sales. I actually
Well, you're in
started
sales
out
now,
in,
man.
yeah, well, we all are in a way. That's the whole thing. I've spent my whole career in and around advertising in one way
Right.
or another, PR and advertising, marketing, branding, but always trying to, in my way, be about selling the truth because
Right.
that was the real product to me. The truth is the real product. But when I realized that it wasn't about convincing people of other things, it was about really knowing in your soul, in your heart, where you're coming from
Yes.
and why you're doing what you're doing. That was a big opening thing, but there was still a lot of things to work through. There
Yes.
was still a lot of issues to work through. And I tell people even today, if they're one of those people that is, blocked and not feeling worthy and all of that, then, they should talk to someone like you, even if it's just to have a conversation and
Yeah.
just to find out, you know, uh, get a different perspective. That's what I
Yes.
provide when I'm talking about somebody's brand. I provide perspective. They just can't see
Right.
from where they're at. They
Yeah.
can't see what the block is. How quickly do you kind of suss out what's up with somebody?
Yeah, that's a great question. Usually, what I have is I have an intensive, a 3 hour intensive when we first meet. In that 3 hour intensive, we break down everything that needs to be rebuilt in that session, and then that's where we start all the work really. So really, if we do we can do what I call a 1 day mindset reset. That's just 3 hours. We do it, and then I follow along with you for 30 days to try to give you some encouragement. But the real coaching really is if you did the 3 months with me, where we did the 1 day mindset reset, which actually eliminates all those beliefs, all those limiting beliefs, those thoughts and those feelings and those, anger, guilt, fear, sadness. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. We get rid of all of that in the first session. And
Mm,
what I do is I create what I call a bespoke daily mental supplement, which is a recording, a meditation that they listen to on a daily basis to now reinforce the new behavior that we changed. Always want I want everybody to understand is that you can change instantly, but think about a muscle memory.
yeah.
If you don't condition the muscle, it's going to go back to where it always comfortable. So we do the change, but if you don't do the work after the change, then obviously eventually you're going to kind of go back to where you always were. So it's
Right.
like, so the part what I tell people, we can do the change quickly, but the work comes in that you're doing the recordings. I teach you how to now utilize the tools because I give you tools in order for you to continue that progress of making those changes.
Yeah. I'm looking at your logo, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the logo. Otherwise, you should watch the YouTube version. But you have, for your bespoke human potential coaching, you have a beautiful logo. Because I want to switch over to branding a little bit. Talk a little bit about your branding. Um, tell us about the logo.
Basically, you take a look at the logo, and right now I think the one that you see is in white. But if you see it
Hmm.
in color, that the leaves are changing colors, meaning that you have this growth, you have
Yes.
this metamorphosis happening. Kind of, it goes along with my legit mindset of learning, growing, expanding, and transforming. Is that now you are transforming, and all of that comes from more the mind, the subconscious mind. The growth and the expansion actually comes from the mind. The bespoke basically means that everybody I meet, we take a unique approach to your situation.
Yeah.
Even though I have a framework in which I work from, then when you come to me, Hersh, you're different than the person who came to me before. So we want to have that unique experience for that person. So in just human potential is basically we're bringing out the best of you or who your potential or who you
Yeah.
are.
Oh, and the image, I really do encourage everybody to look at it because it's very simple and clean, but the idea of the changing seasons, so to speak, of the mind, you know, is really just a beautiful concept, and also the fact that it has a kind of an open feeling. So, in other words, you're opening your mind, you're allowing your mind to evolve, you're allowing the seasons to change. It's a beautiful concept, and I resonate very much with the way that you work, because I do the same thing, having a framework for the work, but every client's goal is different. No two clients come in with the same exact goal. Even if two clients, let's say, have written a book, they've each written a book, and the book isn't performing the way they'd like, and they come to me to work on their personal brand to maybe build their authority and have that help the book, and then the book can help them. Even
Right.
if that were the goal, the two people have not written the same book. They're not the same thought leader. They're not the same author. They're not the same professional. It's impossible for people to be the same. What I think does happen is that like you've said, Curtis, with getting comfortable in a bad relationship, they've gotten comfortable being in a kind of a sea of sameness with other people who, they are not the same.
Right.
They have kind of gotten comfortable with sameness. I think that happens to us. Um, you know, so when you started this, and I love that, you had retired from financial services essentially, and now you had this passion project. Was that kind of burning inside you before? When did you make that decision?
It's always been burning inside of me. I think I told you when I started about 40 years ago, that was the
Right.
intention.
True.
That was the intention. So it was like, and I tell people, using the Bible analogy of the children of Israel going through the desert for 40 years, you don't have to take 40 years to get to your promised land.
That's
You
right.
can do it much faster than what I did. But at the end of the day, that's the timing was the timing. But yeah, so I've always did what I did. I just didn't do it formally, right? I've always understood the mind, and always practiced it, but I never had it like what I do now, full time, every day, doing the same thing. So it's not something that started yesterday. It's something that has been brewing, and
Right.
I've been learning, and I've been growing, and I've been expanding, for the last 40 years so of becoming who I am today. And believe it or not, I've grown more in the last 6 weeks or 8 weeks than I've done in the last 40 years, because now, going back to what you're sharing, I think we did a little bit about this of the branding and understanding who I am and showing up authentically of my being. And that
Yeah.
was difficult for me. I mean, growing up, think about it like this. I grew up in rural Mississippi. I was a pastor's child, and I always wanted to make sure that people, they always said, a preacher's kids are the worst kids. So I wanted to make sure I never did anything to embarrass my parents. And so I had this facade, I had this face, I had this a hypocrite, what they would call it in the theater, is like I had this face of not
Oh
being
yeah, yeah.
who
The mask.
yeah. So it's like, so for me, I did some coaching with a young lady, and one of the things that we kind of helped me break through was the fact that being authentic to who I am. And one of my daily affirmations I tell myself is that I'm looking for people who are looking for me, and being authentically Curtis is more than enough, because of the fact that if I show up just like who I am, yeah, I won't get everybody, but I'm going to get the person who gravitates
Who's
and
looking
who
for you?
likes my messaging and likes my style. And that's who I'm looking for.
Yeah. And how can they find you if you're wearing a mask? How can they find you if right? How
Yeah,
can they
yeah,
find you
yeah.
if you're hiding?
What not only hiding is even in the messaging, Hirsch. It's like, um, I'll go back and look at some of my previous, conversations and recordings on YouTube, and then look at them now. It's just a totally different being. It's like
Hmm.
the energy is different. Now, we were talking earlier today, me and you, we were talking about selling. And one of my things I teach my guys when I'm teaching them about sales, I'm like, selling is not selling. Selling is transference of energy.
Hmm.
Meaning, like, if I have this confidence, if I have this belief about my product and my service, the client doesn't buy the product. The client actually buys the energy that you actually exude, because you believe in it so much. It's like they can feel it. And it's like, and think about it like this, and we do it all the time. We pick up, we see a product. I saw this bottle. I mean, if I saw this
Uh-huh.
bottle at Sam's Club and it was $1, I would say, man, you know what, Hirsch, I just saw this at Sam's Club, and it's a great quality, it's great value. And guess what? It's only $1. You need to go over there and buy that. I don't get a penny for sharing that
Right.
information, but
Right.
see the enthusiasm and the power and the passion that I'm sharing it with, the clients feel that. So when you're talking about your brand, who you are, and when you can share that with individuals with passion and with like, hey, This is for you. I do this. Yeah, I make money from what I do, but I'm telling you, the change and the transformation you're going to receive is it's going to be much more than you ever receive. That's the difference. Is that now I don't mind sharing who I am, putting
Yeah.
down the mask and just being who I am.
Well, I can see why passion is one of your core values, right? But I want to pick up on something, which is that journey. You know, you're right that it doesn't have to take 40 years. And the same thing you mentioned, it's funny that you mentioned the Israelites in the desert.
Yeah.
Uh, Tonight begins a Jewish holiday called Sukkot, which is the holiday where the Jewish people were in that 40-year journey in the desert after leaving Egypt and built these temporary booths
Right.
to live in as they were traveling, and then at the end of those travels received the Torah, the Bible at Mount Sinai. And you could say, well, why put them through that? Why put them through 40 years of not even really wandering because they had a goal, but it's why make them wander? Why
Right.
make them go through this process? And if we look back at our lives, we can see, like, I started out, I had intended to be a comedian, stand-up comedian when I was in New York. I was doing it, but I ended up taking advertising courses at School of Visual Arts. I didn't plan to take those courses. I planned to do acting and filmmaking and whatever. And I ended up working with filmmakers, with directors and composers and editors of TV commercials, simply because I was fascinated by that part of it. I didn't want to represent them just to get them jobs. I wanted to do their PR and write their stories
Right.
and write their bios. But I still thought, oh well, I'll do that for money, and then I'll do stand up, or then I'll. But as it evolved over 30 years, it was like, well, I really like doing this stuff with these people. I really like helping these people. And then it led to brands, which makes sense. Your brand is more money in brands as you're climbing the ladder, so to speak, right? You're going to get more from Nike than you're going to get from an individual.
Right.
But the impact, which is what you're also truly excited about, the impact that you see and the mission that you actually influence becomes, your why, your cause, your own mission, your own validation. But you could never like plan that thing. I couldn't look at today and say, "Oh, this is what I need to do to get there." Right?
And that's part of what we call the legit mindset, what you were spelling out earlier, is the fact that if we can stop, right, Hersh, and stop wherever we are and say, wow, whatever I've gone through, the setbacks, the heartbreaks, and the failures, if I can look at those as an opportunity to learn, what did I learn from that? How can I grow from that? Now, how can I expand and how can I transform? It's like the we can reframe those things, those setbacks, heartbreaks, and failures into learnings. Now, because all the things that you experience brought you to the place you are now, made you the man you are today. And if you didn't go that route, maybe you could have made it here or not. I don't know. Or maybe you'd have gone somewhere else. But because you are here and your successes brought you here because of all the things. And I can tell you right now, if you're like most of us, you've had some setbacks, and you had some
Yeah, yeah.
heartbreaks, and you had some failures, and now you brought you to this level. And every level, this is the things that people have to understand. Every time you reach a plateau, that's only another step to do more learning, more growing, and expanding. We are expanding beings, and it's never stop. So, but whatever we've gone through, when we can look at it and really get the learnings from it and
Yeah.
understand this is a part of my journey. And wow, when I experienced that, when I experienced the famine, when I was experiencing the fact that I'm wondering for now 40 years, wow, but look what it brought me today. I can appreciate it. And now I can speak to it authentically, not like, just make up some stuff. I've been there,
Right,
guys. I
right.
got the t-shirt.
Right, right. But that's a big point, Curtis, which is that, I didn't have the experience or the knowledge back then to do what I'm doing today. Everything I'm doing today is based on my experience and my knowledge. So I could have had the idea of doing it and it still wouldn't have made a difference.
Right.
I had to also work through the other things that were, maybe they weren't my long-term goals, but they were goals,
Right.
doing the comedy, doing the creative stuff, writing, movies, just things that I had to do in
Hmm.
order to do them. I didn't want to be that person that waited until, the end to do any of those things. I had to get them out of my system or get them actually through to fruition in
Right.
order to feel the accomplishment, sense of accomplishment of that. And even then, I didn't feel that sense of accomplishment until I had done other things. So it's a wild ride, and we have to, we have to see the blessing and the value in every one of those steps, whether they appear to be missteps or they appear to be or they are failures. You
Right.
know, there are things that are failures. You can't pretend that something that something when a business didn't succeed and that's a success. It is a lesson, though. It is a valuable,
That's
valuable
the
lesson.
but that's the difference though. I mean, the difference is that it doesn't change the fact that you had a setback, heartbreak, or failure. And what it does though, you can look at it differently. Meaning like, okay, yeah, now what can I learn from this? There's another passage in the Bible I really like. He talks about count it all joy when you fall into different types of temptations or hardships, knowing this, the trial of your faith worketh patience, but let patience have a perfect work. Meaning that when we're going through something, it's not going to be fun. There's nothing fun about it. I mean, I think I shared with you, we lost our son 4.5 years ago. That was not
Yeah,
fun, but we
yeah,
can have this joy about ourselves now, knowing who we are as individuals, understanding the preciousness of life, and understanding that when we're going through something, having empathy for others, that's what we can learn from it.
yeah.
But going through it was not fun, and having failures is not fun. I'm not saying it's going to be fun. What I'm saying is that what we can do is now look at that and says, okay, what can I get from it
Right,
that I can
right.
learn from it so that I don't go back again. I mean, because if we don't get the learning from it, I think you've seen this a lot in some individuals. If we don't learn from something, we have the tendency of going back and doing it over and
Oh,
over and
yeah,
over and over
yeah,
and over again until we get
yeah.
it right. I like, when I go to the dentist, when I go to places where I know it might be a little pain, I want to make sure that they get it right the first time.
Right, right, right. I don't want to go there 5 times with a little bit of pain. I'd
No,
rather
no,
get the
no, no,
pain.
no, no, no. Now let me
I'd
let me
rather get
just
the
be.
pain right up front. Let me have it, but then let me know when I'm not going to be in pain,
There you
because
go.
that's the progression. Well,
That's it.
listen, when when this airs, we'll be closer to the new year. We'll be at least a month or so down the road
Okay.
from when we're recording it. So talking to the audience who's going to be listening to this when they're in that reflective holiday mode. They're going to be thinking about the new year. They're going to be thinking about changes and new horizons. What's some advice that you can give them?
I would say that if you're there, wherever you are in your journey, number one, you're on your journey. And and then if something is truly blocking you now, that now if you want to be ready to move forward, this is the time. And guess what, guys? Every time that you come to that spot, regardless of what time of the year it is, that's the time. You don't have to wait for the new year. You don't have to wait for or the Monday or Tuesday, whatever that day is. You can take inspired action that day. So I would tell them to stop and really, really evaluate themselves and says, okay, is this where I want to be? Or is this somewhere is this the end where I want to be, or is this something else I want to grow into and become even greater?
That's great. And then finally, where can they find you? Where can they find you to get some bespoke human potential coaching and also advice on logos?
Yeah. They can find me at curtismccullom.com or bespokehumanpotentialcoaching.com, either one of those. I'm also on all social media. I'm on YouTube. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm on all of them. So all of them at Curtis McCullom, curtismccullom.org, Bespoke Human Potential Coaching. Usually, I usually when I'm marketing, I market both my name, Curtis McCullom, or Bespoke Human Potential Coaching. So they can go to www.curtismccullom.com, and that'll be my website. And there's going to be a lot of resources there. They can book a free call there. They can register for one of my free workshops. There's a lot of things they can get there from that point.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, my friend. I really appreciate the value you brought today.
Hey, man, we knew we was going to have a great time, Hersh. I mean, I love who you are and what you stand for. And
Thank you.
Obviously, you do a great job at it. And I appreciate you having me to give, just have an opportunity to share with you today, too, brother.
All right.
If you liked the show,
Yes, and
it worked for you,
yes, then
subscribe and leave a
yes, friend.
5-star review.
Yes, friend.
Tell all your friends.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Did I make it clear?
Yes, friend.
Get your branding on
Yes.
before they're gone.
Yeah.